You've invested serious time and serious money into learning the Japanese language. Now imagine yourself arriving in Japan, and weeks into your trip, you find that you're still totally isolated, unable to communicate or make real connections or friends. Now imagine the shock when this week turns into a month and these months drag into years. And then you start to find that the reality of foreigners in Japan is that most of them, most of us, are isolated, completely trapped in a foreigner-only quote-unquote Gaijin bubble. After being here for almost 20 years, I can't tell you how many foreigners I've seen go through loving Japan, becoming totally disillusioned with Japan, and then leaving, hating Japan, or believing that it's somehow a cold or racist society, when this is so far from the truth. The hard truth is, most foreigners' journeys do not end well in Japan. Statistically speaking, your journey will most likely end after a year. If you're still here after 5 years, you're only a small percentage of foreigners that have actually made it. And if you were to talk to those foreigners and ask how many of them are truly happy with their lives here, they're truly thriving and they're really understanding and living and breathing the Japanese language and culture, I think you would be shocked, or maybe not so shocked, to find out that most foreigners are not doing so well. At Thrive in Japan, we understand that learning a language is not just about learning words. And although that can be said about any language, this is especially true for Japanese, which is one of the highest high-context communication systems in the entire world. What that means is that 60 to 80% of the conversation isn't happening with the actual literal words coming out of our mouths, it's happening with everything in between. High context communication comes from a shared history, shared culture, shared understanding, shared religious beliefs. Something that isn't being shared right now openly in front of us. Basically, you have to get it to be in, and if you don't get it, you're out. And that's how it works. Most Japanese learners feel totally isolated in Japan even after spending years and spending tons of energy trying to learn the Japanese language. And this is because no one has shown them the why behind Japanese communication. And people on a surface level understand what's wrong. This concept of a high context language and communication and all this has been circulating for the past few years. And now people on all sorts of platforms and channels and blogs and whatever are throwing out buzzwords. Uchi, soto, kukyo yomu, reading the air, all of these high context terms. But the reality is they don't know how to teach it. Why is that? Well, let's talk about the traditional way of learning Japanese. At the core of modern Japanese education is JLPT, Japanese Language and Proficiency Test. This test is basically what you need to get into universities. It can help you get jobs, it can help you get scholarships, it can help you qualify for visas. And because of this, the majority of Japanese learners out there are trying to get their JLPT. Now, what's the problem? JLPT grammar and words have been arbitrarily assigned rankings from easy to hard. However, that's not how life unfolds. What needs to be done is words and grammars and expressions have to be arranged from most necessary to least necessary. By simply arranging things from easy to hard, JLPT has essentially left N5, N4, and N3 students completely unable to have a regular conversation in conversational Japanese with a normal person. You would actually be hard-pressed to find N2 and even N1 students who are able to have fun, relaxed, casual conversations with their Japanese friends. N2 and N1 holders who can do this have learned their casual Japanese somewhere else by participating in a club or an activity or dating somebody. The fact of the matter is, up until now, no one has figured out how to crack this code. N1 holders that can pass a test but can't have a natural conversation or make a friend can feel incredibly isolated, and understandably so. As I mentioned before, Japanese is one of the highest high context languages in the entire world. If you're not learning how to understand the 60 to 80% of the conversation that's not being spoken out loud, you're going to be lost. It's not just grammar and vocabulary. From day one, we'll teach you the cultural and contextual things that you need to know to actually effectively communicate in Japanese. We had to invent a curriculum from zero. Disjointed lessons in every other curriculum out there are not helping anyone learn context. What does it mean to learn high context? Well, you have to understand social relationships. You have to understand hierarchy. How could you get concepts of personal relationships, and how could you get understandings of the social structure and hierarchy and interpersonal relationships through disjointed lessons where one day you're learning about the post office and the next day you're getting instructions and the next day you're going to zoo and the next day it's a conversation between someone at the bank? Random lessons are not helping anyone learn context. In fact, they're taking everything out of context. This is why with Thrive in Japan's curriculum, you will be taught Japanese as part of one continuous story. Within the story, you will see characters learn and develop and grow the same way that people do in real life. And the best part is, as you move up in levels, you will see the same story through someone else's perspective. The new perspective will give you new insights to Japanese culture, traditions, uses of the language, and ways to understand interpersonal relationships with the kind of depth that a Japanese person would. There is no other curriculum in the world that is built like this. Now, when it comes to speaking practice, most people, instead of making decisions about how to run speaking sessions based on what the science says, they base it on what their budget says, or what is most convenient for them, or better yet, what will sell to the audience. It's insane. Think of this example. A person who's deathly sick goes to the doctor and they run every test they could possibly run to find out the best possible cure and treatment for this person. The person decides to disregard all of the tests, all of the results, all of the doctor's expertise, and decide what they want for themselves. Let's talk about another example. A doctor runs all the tests, finds out exactly what's wrong with the patient, but knows that the patient isn't going to like the cure. So instead, they decide to give them a different cure. This cure doesn't work, but the patient's willing to pay a lot of money for it, and they're happier with this. So they give them the fake cure so that they can keep getting more money from this person. This is essentially how language learning works in 2025 today. Students decide that they know the best way to learn a language and tell the teachers how they should be learning. But wait a second, aren't the teachers supposed to be the experts? Apps are built to keep you engaged, not to actually learn the language, because the longer you're on a platform, the more money the company makes. Well, Thrive in Japan is here today because we think this is ridiculous. The best type of speaking practice that you can get is with something called task-based learning. Task-based learning means that you're given a task or a goal or something you need to actually do through a conversation in your target language and work it out like a puzzle on the spot. All of the latest studies in linguistics and language acquisition point to task-based learning. Universities now are trying to find ways to integrate this into their curriculums. Having a one-on-one call with one teacher will not teach you how to dynamically move through different levels of the hierarchy in the same conversation. This is not going to work for Japanese. You need multiple people acting out different roles at different places in the hierarchy to be able to truly understand how to use the language in context. The same word can have entirely different meanings based on who's saying it to who. The science tells us that you should have a group lesson, you should be doing task-based learning, and you need to do it as much as possible, which is why we offer our students unlimited numbers of speaking sessions. Let me repeat that for you. Unlimited speaking sessions. When it comes to concept and system, there is no other program, curriculum, or platform out there that even gets close to Thrive in Japan. And I say that with confidence. The people who have developed this program have actually mastered the art of thriving in Japan. I myself have been here for 20 years. 10 of those years I was playing professionally as a traditional artist and musician in the wadaiko world, where I was fully immersed in the most traditional circles in Japan. My career took me places doing work and shows and gigs at places like Kabukiza or the National Theater, or like performing for the grand opening of Sky Tree. I've been here in Japan in the most traditional circles and I've been thriving. I myself, being a foreigner who came to Japan, can fully understand the difficulties of moving to Japan, having to learn this language, having to learn this culture, and understand how real the loneliness and the isolation are. I get that. I want to help you succeed. I want to help you thrive. Japan has to bring in foreigners to keep the economy going. But the way things are going right now, it's at the risk of losing everything that makes Japan amazing. If the foreigners coming into Japan don't actually learn how to think like a Japanese person or understand and respect and appreciate the culture, not only will they miss out, but all of Japan will miss out. There's an amazing win-win situation where everybody walks out of this happy. If this mission resonates with you and you want to become truly bilingual, bicultural, and just double your world, then I really hope that you join us for this journey. We're looking for people who are going to help us create a community that's going to be bigger than just a language program. If you're ready to connect, if you're ready to truly belong, if you're ready to thrive in Japan, then click below and join us. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the other side.